Hey everybody, Craig Peterson back here on WGAN, online of course, craigpeterson.com. Yeah, you know it by now, right? Well, hopefully you had a chance to look at archive.org. Definitely check it out. It's called The Wayback Machine, at least that was its original name. And they may still have that domain, thewaybackmachine.com, but archive.org, it is a wonderful, wonderful trip down memory lane, at least for me. And if you are a little bit older, you might remember the internet back in the day. It's fun looking at some of the original search pages of Google, Alta, Vista. Man, I miss Alta Vista. I used to like to use the Boolean algebra that you could do in Alta Vista. And by the way, if you are a geek like me when it comes to searching and you really want to be able to dig into it, there's a tool I use I think that you'd really like, and it's not cheap, that's for sure. It's not expensive either, but it's called Devon Think. Devon Think, and it allows you to set up searches using all kinds of Boolean constructs, which is very, very, very handy, at least as far as I'm concerned. And you can set it up to do automatic search sets every day, looking for different things. And it's one of the tools I use in order to find the information that we talk about here on this show, because so much of it just isn't, generally speaking, available. It certainly isn't spoken about by the mainstream media, right? You know that. That's why you listen to the show, and that's why you follow me as well in the various platforms, because I am on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter and YouTube, and of course my website as well. So I appreciate all you guys who do follow and who comment. Now, if you're a business person, this is really for you, but there are some things that you can do as an individual as well that are going to make a big difference for yourself and your safety online. Businesses are concerned about the GDPR, which we've talked about on the show before. That's that European privacy regulation. And we're also very concerned right now with CCPA. I just had a company that makes optics. In fact, I use their optics here in the studio. If you've ever seen me on a webinar or on one of these videos or pop-up trainings or anything, I'm in the studio and my cameras here actually use a lens that uses the glass made by this company. I had no idea. But they reached out to us because they have an operation in California. They have a sales operation because, again, they're selling their optical glass for use in lenses of all kinds of devices. And they reached out because they were concerned about what could happen with these new California privacy regulations. Is it really going to mess up their business? How is it going to mess up their business? How is it going to make things better or worse? And I think they had some really good questions. So they called us in and they paid us to do an audit of the systems they have. How are the systems working? What is it that we need to be worried about? What is it they need to be worried about, actually? And, it's something that takes a few weeks and a couple of on-site visits. But they are located in New York State, which, by the way, is going to have their own set of privacy regulations that are going to affect them pretty dramatically. But basically what it came down to was if they were compliant with the European regulations, they were probably most of the way towards the California regulations. So they're thinking that they're compliant. But when we got in and started having a look at it, it turned out no. They are not anywhere near compliant with either set of regulations, even though their IT people were saying they are, because they have full-time programmers who are programming their systems, and they thought, oh, no, we're fine. We're fine. No, they weren't. So what do you do if you're a regular business? Enough moaning and groaning about the optical manufacturer who has fantastic optics, which is why I use them. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about your business, your small business, your larger business. This is true. You should be paying attention if you are a medium or large business as well. Because one of the best things you can do, and this is hard to get through to a lot of CEOs and other business owners, but one of the best things you can do to reduce your risks is to reduce the data that you are maintaining. Right? If you want to reduce the chance of getting shot at, don't go out in the streets where they're shooting, right? If you want to reduce the risk of having your data stolen, then don't have the data out there for them to steal. And if you don't want to get nailed by one of these new regulations that says, hey, personally identifiable information has to be maintained in this way and that way, and if someone asks you, what data do you have on me? Do you realize now you only have 1 week to respond, and you have to provide that data to them if you have any sort of a California nexus or European nexus, in other words, doing business in either one of those places? Now it's down to, I think it's actually 5 days. It's not actually a week. To respond saying, here's all of the data that we have about you. That's what you have to be able to do. You have to be able to do it right now. And you also have to be able to tell them, here are all of the people within my organization, as well as contractors, that saw your data, that had access to your data. That is a very, very big deal, frankly. So this landscape is constantly changing. Your obligations for that data and the data disclosure and the data keeping keep getting more strict. So what's the right thing for you to do ultimately? Well, it's to get rid of the damn data, right? It's a very, very solid first step in reducing your risk. Now, I'm going to be publishing next week a little guide that you can use yourself, right? You don't have to have me involved or anything else. This is just for you, that you can use in order to do an inventory of all of the data that you have in your business. So what we've done is we've gone through and looked at different parts of the businesses that we've seen over the years, and what kind of data do they often have. And you have to do that first, right? You got to identify what your risks are. You have to identify what data you have. So I'm going to make that available. That'll be available for those people on my email list. It's going to be part of this ramp up here, where I'm going to be doing the trainings, all of these different free trainings, tutorials in ramp up to the courses. And you don't have to be in the course, okay? You don't have to buy a thing from me. This is all free, no hype or anything else, okay? I'm not trying to hard sell anybody. I want to help you. So that's first step here, is doing this inventory of the data you have. And one of the best things you can do is to go on a data diet. Now, you know, last week we had Barry Friedman on talking about a sugar diet, right? It's a lot like that, frankly. It's getting rid of these addictive pieces of data that we keep on our clients, on our prospects, everything else that's out there, right? And this is really, I think of this as a lens. We're just talking about this lens manufacturer that hired us to look at their systems and processes to see what they had to do to become compliant with the new data regulations. So let's look at it as a lens. When you're looking at your data, when you're doing an inventory of these data assets, ask yourself, do I need this? And will this provide what I need? Think of it maybe like a food diet, like Barry does with sugar. Do I need sugar? Is sugar going to provide us the nutrients that we need? Obviously, the answer to that is no when it comes to sugar, right? We found that out from Barry last week. But we need to work to minimize the sensitive data and ask ourselves, do we need this sensitive data to conduct business right now? And will we need this sensitive data to conduct business in the future? And if the answer is no, securely dispose of that data, because that's the only way we're going to be able to comply with these regulations that are already in place here in the U.S. and in Europe as well. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about how did we get here? How did ransomware grow to be a multi-billion-dollar industry? What did we do to get here, and what should we do to try and get beyond all of this? You're listening to Craig Peterson on WGAN, and of course online at craigpeterson.com, live on YouTube, live on Facebook, everywhere out there. Stick around, we'll be right back.